Hi, and welcome to the Theater of Memory. You know, we usually deal here at the Theater of Memory with things. We think they're fascinating things, but decidedly things. But things mold, rust, corrupt, disintegrate, and go away. So we were challenged recently when somebody said, "All right, take away your things and what have you got?" Fair enough. Everything is transitory except the eternal. So, in rising to accept the challenge, we today accept to collect the ineffable. And though it can't be captured or defined or put into a display case, that's part of being ineffable, there is overwhelming evidence that people throughout the ages have sensed or perceived some eternal, nameless whatchamacallit beyond the realm of thing and no thing, a tricky concept of that which is beyond concept, and something so profoundly subtle it can't be put into words. However, here at the Theater of Memory, we have now amassed a collection of names and terms for the unnameable, eternal, and ineffable. Theists call it God. Atheists call it consciousness. Agnostics are just happy to wallow in the mystery. Zen Buddhists don't call it anything, but will recognize it as the suchness of suchness when whooped up beside the head by the sound of one hand slapping. If you're a Confucian, it's what your ancestors tried to tell you about if only you had listened. If you're a Taoist, Native Americans call it the Great Spirit. Cowboys often sense it under the prairie stars, though if pressed, they say they don't rightly know. Philosophy calls it reality, science calls it principle. Jedi call it the Force, while the Empire stands in steaming piles of filthy lucre and worships the god Mammon. Too much? Okay, well, back it up. No, nobody will ever know. Okay. Jedi call it the Force, while the Empire gets stuck in matter, worshiping the material to the exclusion of the transcendent. Poets attempt to garb the absolute in words, giving rise to the term garble. Those into entheogenic compounds call it. Ancient Hindus liken it to a mirror without a reflection. Pantheists call it everything, while nihilists say it's nothing, especially on Mondays. If you're a dogmatist, it's blah, 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 blah. If you're a reductionist, it's blah, blah. Members of the true body of beetledom still call it love, coincidentally, along with Christians, Muslims, and Jews who also worship the one God who is love when they're not too busy torturing and killing each other over matters relating to the ineffable. I'd certainly be remiss if I failed to mention that quantum physicists today are pretty convinced that a unified field underlies the phenomenal universe and gives rise to it. They describe its properties as radical unity and silent witness. But even the mathematician Leibniz in the late 17th century said cryptically that the primordial field would be mathematically capable of building the universe by operating as an interaction of 0 and 1. Whatever the heck that means, it makes me very nervous. I'm a mathophobe. Take it if you want it. I don't. But Bob, some will say. None of this can be proven, so it only comes down to the eloquence of our arguments. True enough, I respond, arching one brow. But I would far rather be sniffing along the trail of the ineffable than be able to pin down the obvious, apprehending only the solid and the stolid. And I suppose that those persistent rumors of a transcendent, eternal, creative awareness are true, then it makes sense to ally oneself with that level of being and not just the molding, rotting, resting one. Well, after an exhaustive search of the dictionary, we found that among all of the names of the unnameable, the only one that is both a noun and a verb is love. That gives it the distinction of being something that can be embodied, and if embodied, of being both transcendent and immanent, which is theology speak for out there and right here. So now it seems that anyone could decide for themselves. No coupons to clip, nothing to buy, nothing to send in, no place to be at a certain time. You can try it on anyone at any time. On a personal note, after only a few weeks of trying this, I'd have to say the results are promising, leading me to the conclusion that, well, a conclusion I would not wish to justify to a funding agency or a board of directors. That conclusion is, and it still needs more testing, that love is the answer even when you forget the question. For Theater of Memory, kissy kissy.